This is a special report.
You're with Cannasense.com. Now, this is a new organization. Tell us what the focus of your organization is and how people are benefiting from it.
Sure, Gary. So Cannasense Total Wellness is a medical cannabis collective. We're a national collective, and we help patients in all 50 states get legal access to cannabis medication through a very streamlined and amazing system, a legal system, where everyone becomes a California patient under the protection and provisions of the Compassionate Use Act. Now, the Compassionate Use Act is a California law that was passed in 1996, and it really was a groundbreaking law in its time, and is in many ways a cornerstone of the legal cannabis economy in California. And so under the Compassionate Use Act, anyone, not just California residents, but anyone can become a member of a medical cannabis collective with the recommendation of a doctor. And so years later, along came the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, which created provisions for telemedicine. Now, telemedicine is using the internet to interact with your medical professional or doctor. You can get your prescriptions filled this way, and legally, it's the same thing as seeing your doctor in person and physically traveling there from a legal perspective. So what we do is we put every patient, no matter what state they live in, we get them a doctor's appointment with a board-certified California physician who then gives them a recommendation based on their symptoms and their illnesses for membership in Cannasense. They then get approved. It usually takes about 1 business day to be approved. It's a very inexpensive process to get approved. And then they're able to order from our online store called our Apothecary, and then we ship right to their home. Now, how we're able to do this is that Article 4, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution, which is the supreme law of the United States, says that full faith and credit shall be given to every state as to their laws, acts, and judicial proceedings in every other state, even if that state's laws are different. And so what that essentially means, Gary, is that if you're in Tennessee, where the penalties for cannabis use are pretty strict and it's very hostile to cannabis, you can become a member of Cannasense, and we will send your medicine right to your home, so you're not exposing yourself by buying it on the black market and exposing yourself to arrest and persecution in that regard. And Tennessee, by virtue of its membership in the Union of States, under the Constitution, has to honor that particular patient's membership under the Compassionate Use Act of California.
Wow. Jordan, this is profound. Because there are states of the Union that you can't get cannabis. Now, my mother, I believe that she may have benefited from, a full-blown cannabis treatment with CBD THC oil. Unfortunately, we lost my mother to cancer last year. But I think that there are people, because it was in Illinois, she couldn't get the treatment. It was the very beginning of the laws shifting here in Illinois. But what are some states? You said Tennessee is one state. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what you just said here, basically.
Okay.
Well, no, but this is profound. This is just profound.
It really is. Now, some legal camps are divided about our legal arguments, and there's more to it than just the Compassionate Use Act, the Affordable Care Act, and Article 4, Section 1. There's a lot more to the legal argument, but that's really like the meat and potatoes of the argument. But essentially, any state in the Union under the Constitution, because of the Reciprocity Clause, Article 4, Section 1, it's not that every state has to honor the Compassionate Use Act in general, but if there is a person living in that state who is in compliance with that act, which every member of Cannasense is, then whether the state wants to or not, they have to honor that particular patient's membership under the Compassionate Use Act.
Wow.
And but we understand, you and I come from a liberty background. We understand that we live under certain levels of tyranny in this country, or we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And
Sure.
so knowing that in certain states, we have 26 or so states that have at least some medical cannabis provisions. But even in most of those states, it's still fairly oppressive and demoralizing, and there's only a certain very small number of illnesses that will qualify you for a medical cannabis card. But in any state, it doesn't matter. If you are ever persecuted by the state, if you are harassed, intimidated, or charged because of the possessing or using your medicine, when you're in compliance with the Compassionate Use Act in our program, the Cannasense Foundation was also created in tandem with Cannasense, so that if any of our members or patients ever have any legal repercussions for cannabis use, that the Cannasense Foundation will actually provide them with a fully paid for legal defense team. So we will actually pay for your attorney to help exonerate you from charges, and if it ever went to a jury trial, to ultimately get you exonerated and set legal precedent in that regard.
A seriously profound organization. Now, let me ask you the question. So basically, let's try to deconstruct what you're saying here for folks at home who are watching this. Basically, I become a member of Cannasense. Now I'm able to access a doctor in California, and then I can receive my medical cannabis card, and then I can literally order the medical cannabis and have it delivered to my home in any of the 50 states under this provision of the law?
That's correct.
Okay, so now that I know that I can order this stuff through the mail, what's to prevent? I know people who have, they've been arrested. And this is years ago when it was much more hostile environment. But
Sure.
People would mail this stuff and they would get arrested for it. The feds would show up in a UPS uniform. So how can they ship this stuff through standard mail? How does that work?
Well, let's talk about the argument behind all of that. So, which would be Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution, which is known as the Commerce Clause. Now, the Commerce Clause gives Congress the right to regulate commerce with foreign nations, between the several states and the Indian tribes. But the definition of the word regulate is, in context of what the framers meant at the time, the definition of the word meant to make regular or to encourage the growth of, not to control or stifle or inhibit, which is the common meaning today. Okay, the original meaning of words can influence Supreme Court decisions, and we as a culture need to understand our history, or we'll always remain in a cycle of dependence and slavery, essentially. So the Ninth Amendment guarantees the retention of all non-enumerated rights. So the Bill of Rights is a list of rights that we know that we have, but we're writing them down, we're enumerating them. But the Ninth Amendment guarantees that there are other rights that exist outside of the ones that are explicitly mentioned, and though they're not listed, they can't be violated. And one of those rights is the right to heal oneself with medication. So we're put in a position where we have the decision to either ship across state lines or cultivate in states that don't allow us to do that. And we have the natural right of access to our medication, and the culture understands this. It's like over time, when the culture becomes more accepting of something, you see the laws changing, and all the laws are changing in our favor. They're not going backwards, they're going forwards. But under the Commerce Clause, it doesn't apply to individual citizens. And also, we are a nonprofit entity. Cannasense is a collective, not a dispensary. So this doesn't even technically qualify as commerce. So I hope that answers your question.
Wow, this is amazing. Cannasense.com is the website, and you can see we've had it at the bottom of the screen the whole time here. Jordan Page, you can email him if you've got questions directly. You can talk to the public relations director himself, jpage@cannasense.com. Now, Jordan, you know your stuff. I mean, you're spitting out facts here faster than I can process them, so I know there's going to be a lot of people that can drum up some questions for you. But how did you get involved in Cannasense and this level of advocacy work? I mean, it's a wonderful thing.
Well, I got involved back in September, and I come from a musical background. I mean, I'm a nationally touring and recording artist, as you know, and I did a lot of shows with Ron Paul when he was running for president, and I've always taken on issues, freedom issues that I cared about. And cannabis freedom was never really on my radar because I'm not what you would call a recreational user of cannabis. And I haven't been for many, many years, about 17 years I haven't been. But then a friend of mine who is a cannabis activist started to educate me on the fact that human beings have an endogenous cannabinoid system within our bodies. We have an actual network inside of our bodies that carries information to keep all of our systems working at optimal capacity. It's called the endogenous cannabinoid system. And we actually have receptors that go to places of pain, inflammation, or cancer, and they wait for cannabinoids to show up. And we produce cannabinoids ourselves. They're called endogenous cannabinoids. But if we have a deficiency of those compounds, we have to get them from the plant. They're called phytocannabinoids when they come from the plant. And when I learned that we are designed, these complex machines that our bodies are designed with a cannabis system inherently in there to keep us healthy and well, then that really blew my mind and caused me to start doing lots of research on this. And I started doing speeches and public appearances about prohibition, about the history of prohibition, and the nefarious endgame that came about from the prohibition of cannabis and the demonization of this plant. And so at the time, this is back in August, I learned there was actually a farmer, a grower, a commercial grower in Northern California, Desert King Seed Mountain Company, that had actually named a strain of cannabis after me. He mixed Liberty Haze with Kaboom and put them together and created a new strain and called it Jordan Page. And that again blew my mind, and I didn't feel like I deserved that, but I felt like it was a sign that God was telling me you have to continue to pay attention to cannabis. And then my wife and I had a very close friend who has terrible, debilitating back pain, and I was looking for a pain solution for her, a holistic pain solution for her. And I talked to my good friend Neil Schloss, who's also a friend from the Ron Paul Revolution, who is a successful CPA over in New Jersey, and because I knew that he was a cannabis activist also. And he says to me, "Don't you know what we've created?" And he told me about Cannasense, and by the end of the conversation, I was registered as a caregiver. I said, I cannot not be part of this. This is the future. This is direct activism, and it's a way that I can actually help real people with real suffering to get alleviation from that suffering and help them to get it legally. And the whole program really blew my mind, and it's expanded leaps and bounds since September, since I first got on board, and now I'm the public relations director because I'm so passionate about this issue. And I'm just on a mission to educate. I mean, Cannasense's main mission is patient access. That's what we're about.
Well, your passion is very clear. I can see it. And I know there's a lot of people watching right now probably wondering, what can cannabis treat me for? Because we want people to take advantage of this program that you're offering here, this membership, so that if they have an ailment, that they can receive the treatment that they deserve and they're entitled to. So, for people who are watching this report right now, Jordan, what are some common ailments that people can go through your program, contact a doctor through your membership program in California for what types of treatments are we talking about here?
Oh, I mean, we could be talking all day about that. I mean, we have to first of all establish some differentiation between using cannabis as medication versus using pharmaceuticals or opiates as medication. They cannot be compared. They're two completely different animals. Okay, I mean, with pharmaceutical drugs, generally they treat a symptom, or they block the signal. They block a pain signal, or they block a receptor from doing what it does. With cannabis gets down to the root cause of what's going on with you. But generally, cannabis is known as an anti-inflammatory. It's an anti-anxiety medication. People use it for PTSD, anxiety and depression, and any kind of inflammatory illness or autoimmune disorder like fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, lupus, you name it. Anything inflammatory and chronic pain illnesses, and especially illnesses like cancer. I mean, there's over 100 clinical studies on our site that prove what THC and CBD do to cancer. I mean, THC is known as one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer agents on the planet. And it creates what we call apoptosis, which is cellular death in cancer cells. But it leaves healthy cells alone while killing cancer cells. And you can watch it under a microscope. It's really quite miraculous. And CBD, which stands for cannabidiol, is one of the non-psychoactive cannabinoids in the plant. And though it may not be as effective of a cancer killer as THC, it is extremely effective at stopping cancer from spreading and preventing metastasization. So there's so many illnesses that it can treat, and there's actually a lot of doctors and pharmacologists are out there doing their own research because they weren't taught anything about cannabis in medical school. And why? Because the pharmaceutical industrial complex basically runs the American medical establishment, and they cannot patent a naturally occurring substance. They can patent a process, but they can't patent cannabis itself, and so there's no money in it. So they're not going to teach doctors about cannabis because they want to keep it off of everyone's radar. But more and more doctors are learning about it and doing their own research, and they're starting to discover, and I read these studies, they're starting to discover that the new hypothesis now is a lot of these illnesses that we never had before may actually be caused by a cannabis deficiency. You're not making enough cannabinoids in your body, and you're not ingesting enough cannabinoids from the plant because, in general, it's kept from the population. So there's a whole spectrum of disorders that cannabis can help to alleviate the symptoms, and people see even a reversal of symptoms a lot of times. I mean, we have to be careful that to say cannabis cures this or that, because then the hammer comes crashing down.
Oh, yes.
But people are doing their own research, and there's so many stories out there now. People all over the world using cannabis to treat their various illnesses and having an entire change in their quality of life. And I know personally because I talk to these patients every day. 7 days a week I get phone calls, and I talk to patients who call me up to say thank you for having this be a reality, because cannabis is the only thing that's ever helped them in the history of their medical illness, and they have literally tried everything that modern medicine has to offer, and nothing ever helped. And then finally, at the end of their rope, someone gave them cannabis, and it was the first pain-free day, or seizure-free day, or the first day that they felt like they had a solution to their problem. And people cry on the phone because of how much joy this actually brings them to have some relief from their pain and from their symptoms.
Now, Jordan, what are some of the different ways people can ingest the cannabis? So most people automatically think, well, we put it in a joint, we smoke it. But I know, there's a lot of other ways: edibles, capsules. How can people? What can people expect when they do join at Cannasense.com? The link you can see in the description. It's also on the screen. But what are different ways people can ingest this to receive the benefits that may be non-traditional?
Oh, there's so many ways. I mean, yeah. Besides smoking the raw herbs, there's the process of extracting the oil from the plant has really proliferated over the last few years, and they can put the oil into anything. I mean, at the Cannasense Apothecary, which is cannasense.com/shop. We have topical solutions. We've got lotions and creams. We've got edibles like brownies, little energy drinks. We've got you can ingest it orally. We have the Rick Simpson oils. Rick Simpson was a man who cured himself of cancer by extracting the oil from the plant, and we carry those types of oils that they come in medical syringes, 1,000 milligrams or one gram of oil. 1 gram of oil, incidentally, is about the equivalent to about a quarter ounce of cannabis. And when you're treating cancer,
can you repeat that again? How much? What's the ratio there?
Sure. 1 gram of the concentrated oil is about the equivalent of about a quarter ounce of cannabis.
So a gram of oil is equivalent to a quarter ounce. Wow.
Generally speaking, and the way that Rick Simpson has kind of pioneered his processes, and the way that he sort of recommends people use this to fight cancer is to build up slowly over 30 days or so to get to a point where you can take a gram a day. And a gram a day of concentrated oil is a serious hardcore treatment. But I'm working with several cancer patients all over the country right now who are currently doing it. They're doing a gram a day, and they're seeing their cancer count in their blood work going down. So we've got all different kinds of solutions, and anywhere from bath salts to brownies.
Wow.
So it's really limited to your imagination. We're getting lots of new vendors coming on board and offering us more and more products and more cannabis products and solutions that we might never have thought of. We have some vendors coming on that are bringing us lollipops and hard candies, gummy bears, fruit bars, I mean, you name it. And something that I want to stress to people watching this who might be skeptical or who might be in favor of medical cannabis but are not in favor of recreational cannabis, I post this question to you: is there really a difference? Because the way that I look at this, and the way that many of us in the medical industry look at this, is that all consumption of cannabis is technically medicinal, because any consumption of cannabinoids, and you're talking to a person who you would not consider what we call a recreational user, but all consumption of cannabinoids contribute to your overall health. That's why you have a cannabinoid system in your body. Whoever's listening, whoever you believe created human beings, whether it was an evolutionary process or whether it was God or what have you, we were designed to interact with this plant. We were designed to do it. So wrap your mind around that and ask yourself, have I been lied to, possibly? Has there been some larger, dark kind of goal for keeping me away from this? I mean, look at all the illnesses that are out there now that are modern plagues that no one ever heard of before the 20th century. Now, of course, environmental pollutants can play a part in that. Like processed food can play a part in that. Vaccines, what have you. But knowing that we have this system in our bodies and that we're meant to use cannabis to keep ourselves healthy, to keep all of our systems in homeostasis, the fact that it's been prohibited from us speaks volumes.
Well, Jordan, you certainly spoke volumes today on this topic, and it's really been enlightening for me and exciting as well to learn that your organization is there providing a solution for individuals with ailments, no matter what the Department of Homeland Security chief would be presenting to the American people. No matter what Jeff Sessions says, there is a solution to this problem that has been plaguing the United States since they outlawed the stuff. Now, I should ask this question because your organization does operate on a specific point of Obamacare. We know Obamacare has been on the chopping block by the Trump administration. They failed in their ability to repeal and replace it. They're looking at alternatives now. Do you see that this provision in Obamacare would stay in the next incarnation of whatever the Republican GOP put on the table in the next round when it comes up for another vote?
Oh, absolutely, unequivocally, because telemedicine, I mean, regardless of what you think about Obamacare, everyone has their own views on Obamacare, but regardless if it's completely eliminated or replaced or what have you, telemedicine is here to stay. It has actually ingrained itself in the American medical establishment and actually globally, so because it's a very efficient way to interact with medical professionals, especially if you have debilitating illnesses where you really can't leave your home. There's a lot of folks out there that actually can't physically go see a doctor, or it's a hardship for them to go see the doctor. And seeing them, from the comfort of their home, really is an efficient way to do business. And so, telemedicine is not going anywhere.
That's good. Okay, because I was concerned because you mentioned that you're operating through a provision, the telemedicine provision in Obamacare. So, since the technology is here, it's not going away, and our viewers at home or who are considering this option through Cannasense.com don't have to worry about that. So that's good. That's good. I wanted to clear that up because I know people were gonna sit as soon as you mentioned Obamacare. People were like, wait a minute, it's on the chopping block, So I'm glad we were able to clear that up. Before we go, any final thoughts? How can people take a deeper, if they want to take that first step with you? what steps do they take?
Well, the first thing to do is to educate yourself, and that's why we have an education page on the website. Go to cannasense.com/education and read the program. Read the entire legal argument is laid out for you. The costs and benefits of the various levels of membership are there. People can be caregivers, they can be patients, or they can be full members, and there's benefits to every one of those levels. Under the Compassionate Use Act, caregivers are allowed to be compensated for their time, and so we have a compensation referral system for caregivers to be able to earn income for taking the time to guide patients through the process. And it's a great system. And I would just have people read what's on the website. Check out the Become a Member page. There's detailed instructions for how to obtain your recommendation through our affiliate partner, which is Presto Doctor. They're an online telemedicine service. And I would take a look at the apothecary and see what's there. And I think everyone will be really pleasantly surprised to see what's possible here. And remember, I come from a place where I believe in civil disobedience to make change, but Cannasense, I wouldn't even classify it as civil disobedience. We're using existing laws and a legal structure to help patients get legal access. Just because that there are laws that are in conflict with one another, that's not the fault of the patient, or that's not our fault. We're using existing laws to create a legally defensible position, which without our program, in most places you just don't have. There are millions of people out there that want and need access to this medication, but they don't have a legally defensible position, and they're buying it on the street and exposing themselves to unpleasant situations and exposing themselves to arrest and persecution by the state. And with our program, you get a medical card issued by the doctor that you are a verified patient under the Compassionate Use Act. You get a written signed recommendation from the doctor, and you also have, again, the added benefit of the legal insurance of the Cannasense Foundation backing you up if you ever did have any legal ramifications as a result of your membership, which you're not going to find anywhere else. I've looked for other programs that do what we do, and as of this date, I've not found one that does exactly what we do. We're taking care of patients from beginning to end and giving them a legally defensible position.
Jordan, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the program to talk about these things, and most importantly, see, Jordan, this is not stuff that's talked about in the mainstream press. You know, I've been at the media game for a decade now or more, trying to bring pertinent truths to the American people, and this is something that is not broadcast. These solutions are not broadcast by CNN, okay, MSNBC.
Of course.
And I'm really thankful that you made it a mission to join the program and to present this to our hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And I certainly hope that folks watching at home will take full advantage of this, reach out to you, contact you, get their questions answered, and take part in the program if they feel that it fits for them. So, Jordan, once again, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much, Gary.
All right, that was Jordan Page of Cannasense.com. Now, his email is still at the bottom of the screen there. It's jpage@cannasense.com. Shoot him an email, and when you do, tell him, hey, I learned about you through the Next News Network, so he knows where the information is coming from. But most importantly, get your questions answered. Okay? They have the infrastructure in place. I mean, this is profound. As you saw in the beginning, I was like, wow, this is amazing how they have set up the infrastructure. So you can actually see a doctor, see a doctor through, modern technology, and you can get a prescription, you can get a medical marijuana card, and then you can actually have the stuff mailed to your house legitimately, and they'll help you with every step of the way. So amazing, amazing organization. I'm really blown away. And I'm thankful that something like this exists now, because I know many people could benefit from this now. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I hope you'll take advantage of it. For the Next News Network, of course, comment below, subscribe for updates, and hit the website down there, Cannasense.com. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
You possess the power to impact the global narrative. Please share this report and To get more videos like this, become a Next News subscriber by clicking the link below. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.